We're live.
All right, Timberwolves fans, how we doing today? Back on the Howlin' at the Mic podcast. We haven't recorded an episode of the actual podcast in a while, but as you can see, we got a special guest today, Drew Doobie Schmidt. How we doing, Doobie?
Good. It's thank you guys for having me on here. I'm really excited to be here.
Some could say that Drew is one of the biggest Timberwolves fans that there is. Drew, tell us why you love the Timberwolves, who your favorite player is, a little bit about your love for the Wolves.
Um, Honestly, I've been a Wolves fan ever since I was four with the KG era. Obviously, I don't remember that much, but ever since Cat got drafted the Wolves, and him just being here, I've met him his rookie year, and ever since then, I've just been locked in with the Wolves. Um, and I just wanted to stick with him through Cat. I wanted to watch Cat go through all of his troubles with the Wolves, and we're finally getting out of the tough days of being a Wolves fan. We're going to bigger heights now, and I'm excited to be a part of it and cheer for them on. In terms of that, though, my favorite player isn't Cat. It's actually Anthony Edwards. I just love his ability just to attack the rim, and he does it all on the floor defensively and with the three. It's just unbelievable. And he's always fun to watch.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like you were saying, you mentioned Karl Anthony Towns a lot. What do you think of the last playoff performance? I feel like that's the pretty big narrative surrounding Cat right now. How's he going to flip the script on that narrative from those three stinkers he put up in the playoffs?
I feel like he hasn't been getting enough shots up. I feel like he's got to be a little bit more aggressive and just have confidence in his game, because when I've seen Cat get that confidence in him and he's able to really just believe in himself and just go out after and take whatever shot he can take. He can attack at the rim. He can shoot the three. He can spread the floor. I just think he needs to be aggressive. And I know we got good scores on our team like Jaden and Ant and D'Lo, and now we added Rudy, who can obviously in the two-man game with D'Lo. And there's a lot of options there, but I want Cat to be up there as a number one or two option and just be aggressive. I think that will really set him forward in the playoffs.
So, do you think that the addition of Gobert, do you think that's going to help him break out a little bit more, or do you think that might impact his game negatively? What do you think about that?
I think Gobert and Cat will work probably pretty well with each other. Ever since just watching the games of Joel Embiid or Jokic, I know Cat's just been having a little bit of trouble just defending that paint, and he gets kind of worked around, especially against Joel Embiid. Ever since I can last remember, he's just been getting worked. So I think just having Gobert down there protecting the rim, he can focus on a little bit smaller guys like number fours and just really be able to just play better defense. And I think Rudy will do a good job protecting the rim more. But if Cat obviously needs to step in to protect the rim, he'll get up there and he'll block his shots as well. So it'll be fun to watch those two, especially down low.
Yeah, like I'm such a big fan. It's just like the last series, I think the biggest thing that stood out for me at least, like it's the dang unnecessary fouling. Like I feel like just a lot of it was honestly, I don't know if it's just a personality trait of his, but I feel like he just I think he gets in his head so much that he just does it and then he gets all mad because he thinks he doesn't do it. I think not in a
Mm-hmm.
bad way, but there's almost like a sense of like he doesn't actually know what he's doing. So I think hopefully Gobert will help at least limit some of those fouls. I mean, especially guarding fours too. That's an entirely another challenge that he's gonna have to take on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna have to go guard the perimeter a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I think he is definitely like the most exciting, to see how he's going to fit within this new scheme. And that kind of brings us into Gobert. So what does Gobert's role to you look on this team offensively and defensively?
Yeah, obviously defensively, he's one of the best defenders in the league, and I still think he is. I know he's had some stints in the playoffs where he's gotten a bad rep, just in terms of his defense. But I think he's still one of the best defenders in the league. And offensively, I've already been watching some videos on Twitter. I know the Wolves started their media day and their training camp. They had their second day today. Watching some videos of just D'Lo and Gobert running that two-man game, the pick and roll. I mean, it just kind of gets me excited because you got Gobert and D'Lo in that pick and roll in the two-man game, and then you can have Cat spread out. He's one of the best big man shooters in the league, and even Ant, who can always shoot the three as well. There's just a lot of options when you run that. I think I'm just excited just with how the offense is going to run because there's so many different ways we can go, and I just want to see what ways work best for us and what ways won't work best for us. But yeah.
All right, so we've already talked about how this Gobert sign is going to impact Cat. What about our guy D'Lo, who Chris, you talked about Cat having a rough playoffs. I mean, D'Lo, besides the play-in game, which he's the reason we made it, we won the play-in game. But in the playoffs, he was horrible. Is adding Gobert, do you think that's gonna help him out, or do you think, I don't know, I feel like this is a turning point for D'Angelo Russell if he's gonna be the point guard of the future for us, or if it's time to let him go?
Are you asking me or Chris?
I'm asking you.
Oh, me. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Like I said, I think D'Lo, with just having another weapon like that to use, especially getting assists, like I said in that two-man game, I think it's going to be pretty deadly when they're using that. I think just having all those weapons, even Jaden McDaniels out there, just being able to make a play happen or attack the rim. And I just think with all that talent and skill around him, I feel like, and D'Lo's also one of the best point guards too in the league. I know he's been having some trouble recently, but he's had years where he's been one of the best. And I think with all that skill around him, he's going to utilize that and really, I think, take a step up this year.
Yeah, so Doobie, I don't know if you know, but Peyton has actually coined a term. I think that's pretty popular in the Timberwolves community now. He had a little war of words with our good friend. Who were we talking with when you coined the silent super? Oh, you were talking with Dane. So
Dane Moore, yeah.
Yeah, Peyton and Dane were going a little back and forth. Peyton used the word silent superstar for D'Angelo Russell. So I want to get your opinion. It seems like you like D'Angelo Russell from your comments, but is he one of the best point guards? Is he a silent superstar? Because I think that's the big word in there is superstar.
Superstar. That's a tough one to say because he definitely flashes some of that superstar ability. But there's also times where I don't see it there. And superstar is a pretty strong descriptive word. When I think, you can think of star, like somebody who's really solid in the league, but when you think of superstar, I'm thinking in my opinion of superstar, I'm thinking like Giannis, LeBron, Jokic, Joel Embiid, like Luka, like that's what I think of superstar. So in my opinion, I will call him a silent star. That's what I think he is. I think he falls more into that category than superstar. But hey, he might fall into that category later this year. So I just can't wait to find out.
Hey, let me defend myself a little bit, Chris. I mean,
yeah, please do.
That was 2 years ago, right at the beginning of when we got D'Lo. So I was still very high on him, and I think a silent star, Doobie. I think that might be a little bit better of a way, and he might be a very silent star right now. Mm-hmm. But I think an aspect you got to add to that is the swag. I think he has superstar swag. If you look at the Timberwolves outfit stuff, I mean. The dude 100%. Does not dress like an NBA player. He dresses like a freaking I don't even know. The stuff he wears, I could never pull it off. He's got a different level of drip. It's not even it's so I think that you got to add that to the equation. But
yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna ask you guys a quick question in terms because we're on the D'Lo topic here. I'm sure you guys probably saw the rankings that came out. Having 3 in the top 25 is really impressive. The only team in the NBA to have that. What are your thoughts on D'Lo being ranked down in the 90s, 93, or was it 93, 96? Well, I just want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think he should be higher? Should he not even be in the top 100?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I want to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of a noted. I have a D'Angelo Russell jersey, Doobie, but I'm kind of the guy on the show who doesn't take D'Angelo's side most of the time. Mm-hmm. But I would say if you were to buy stock in a one player this year, that's kind of a buy low, sell high guy, I think it's a D'Angelo Russell type player. I think with the rating of, what did you say, 96 on ESPN, right? That's what it was?
96 or 93.
I think it was 94, maybe 94 either.
94.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. In the 90s, yeah. I mean, this guy is behind like utility and bench players, some role players. He's behind Russell Westbrook, who, if you look at last season, I don't even think I'd want him on the team. Like, I don't think there's any value add there, but I do think there is a lot of value add having D'Angelo Russell at the point. So, I mean, if this guy can just fit in and average 8 to 10 assists, maybe give us 15 to 17 points per game, I think this team has a very deep playoff run. But that's the other thing. I mean, career-wise, in his series with Brooklyn, too, he kind of had a similar series to the one he just had in Minnesota. So I think him and Cat, again, are both going to need to change that narrative in order for them to be, kind of praised, I think, in some of these major outlets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think with D'Lo, and Chris, you're talking about the playoffs, last year what happened in the playoffs, that can never happen again. If you're spending, how much do we pay him? $30 million?
A good amount.
34.
How much? 34
million. However much you pay your point guard, and if he's not in the game at the end of game 6 in an elimination game, then he's not your point guard. So, I mean, that was kind of like at the end of last year, it was almost like, why are we paying this guy so much money? So it's just kind of like a second chance for him, I think. And I think that adding Gobert is really going to spread out the floor for him. And like you guys are seeing on those videos that the Timberwolves are posting, like the two-man game, Doobie, you already alluded to that a lot. But if he can really open it up, and I think the way he's going to do that is with passing. I think when D'Angelo Russell takes those horrible shots, that's why so many people dislike him as a player. He's a very easy player to hate because he takes just the weirdest shots. Even the ones that go in, they don't look pretty sometimes. Like, it's just like, why are you shooting that? But I don't know. I think if he can pass, if he can become more of a pass-first guy, that's when we can extend him and actually and he might be worth the money, I think.
I definitely agree with what you're saying, because I remember going to some of those games and he just was chucking up some horrible shots, and I just want him to facilitate the when you have that many, just like our whole team is so deep with a bunch of scores. Deal's got to use his strengths as just a passer and just get the balls to our scores, I think, and he'll be doing pretty well this year.
Yeah, I mean, the role is definitely suited for him with one of the rolling bigs. And you actually alluded earlier, I think, Peyton, to someone else besides D'Angelo Russell that actually finished that game 6, and that was our man, Jordan McLaughlin. And that brings me to another point here is I hear a lot of people saying we gave up way too much in this Gobert trade, but you look at the bench this year with some of the player additions like Bryn Forbes, Austin Rivers, I even think Luka Garza is going to get a shot eventually this year on the Wolves roster. Doobie, what do you think the state of the bench is, and how are these new guys going to help us here?
Yeah, definitely. Losing Vando and Pat Bev. Pat Bev is obviously the 4 first-round picks. I was like, oh, that might be a little bit too much, but I'm happy we made the trade. But losing Pat Bev was the one thing that kind of scared me, because he was kind of the glue guy last year that got kind of everybody locked in and got everybody fired up. And just him, I remember going to some games. He just was, I was behind the team's bench. He just was always just being engaged with the young guys, because we're also young and he's our vet. He's our leader. He kind of brought us back up to the playoffs, which is kind of cool to see. And I think that was a little bit of a loss. But in terms of our bench, I think the addition of Austin Rivers is great. I've always liked him as a player. I know he's bounced around the league from like Houston and other teams, but I've always liked him as a player. And I remember listening to an interview, he said he doesn't need to be averaging 20 points or 15 points. He just wants to be a defensive specialist, and that's something we need for this team. Bryn Forbes, obviously shooter. You can't get it wrong with any more shooters. And I also like just even our bench that we have right now with Jalen Noel. I mean, when he got his minutes last year when Cad and everybody else was out with COVID, he's been able to step up and make a lot of shots and have a lot of big games. And J Mac does just a solid player. And in terms of also Naz Reid, some people are not a big fan of him. I think he's pretty solid, and he gets the job done. Sometimes he gets a poster here and there, which gets me kind of excited. So I like him as one of our bench players as well. But yeah, in terms of our bench, I do like our bench, and I think we're gonna be pretty solid and deep.
So you're talking about sitting behind the Timberwolves bench and all that. How many games did you go to last year?
Last year I went to 10 games, and I went to out of those 10 games I went to 2 playoff games.
So, I mean, for people that don't know, you don't live in the cities, right? Me and you go to school together up at St. John's. So it's a hike every time you want to go to a game. That's some dedication.
It is, yeah, but it's really worth it when you get to go watch the Wolves. I mean, you can't beat going to Target Center watching some of the best basketball in your life, honestly, with Ant-Man and Cad, D'Lo, and now adding Rudy. You just can't beat it.
So yeah, I know. Oh, you go, Chris.
Go ahead. I know we were talking about a little bit before the podcast, some Timberwolves stuff, but you kind of alluded to what was your favorite Timberwolves moment from last year, whether that's going to a game, a special moment that happened. What was the best thing that happened last season for you?
Okay, sweet. I mean, I would want to say the playoff games, but sadly I'm 0-2, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be going to any more playoff games. I feel like I'm bad luck. But I went to a lot of great games last year. So a couple of them were. I went to Malik Beasley's record-breaking 3-point game, which was pretty cool. He also broke somebody's ankles that game, and it was cool because the fans got really into it. And when he made that last 3, everybody was really excited. I went to the Hornets game. That was pretty fun to see LaMelo and Ant go at it, and we were down, and then Cat wasn't shooting the ball that much and decided to start just shooting threes. I think he went like 3 for 4 or 4 for 5 in the last minute of regulation and in overtime, and we won the game. That was pretty fun. My favorite moment of last year's games was definitely the Miami Heat game. Packed house, Jimmy Butler's in town, place is getting rowdy. I can see Ant. You can see it in his eye. He can feel the fans. He wants to do something crazy. He does a little backdoor, and it when he finished that dunk on him, I don't even know who it was. I've never heard the stadium that loud in my life before, and I was so upset when that call got called back. But that was by far my favorite moment at Target Center, I think, of all time.
I was at the Hornets game and the Miami game, and dude, that Miami game was, I feel like it was louder than some of the playoff games.
Oh, I definitely think it was, dude. It was.
I didn't even get to go to that.
And you were supposed to come, right?
I was supposed to come. I didn't get to go to it. I had some school stuff going on, but dude, I only got to watch it on TV, and that was still maybe besides the playing game because I was actually there, but that was the like best game of the year for us, not postseason. Like just the entire storyline was written there. Like you have the arena's already filled. Like we for some reason do really good against the Heat, so like a lot of people want to come watch. You got Jimmy Butler coming into town. We already know the beef with Cat. Ant's kind of the budding guy, the new guy on the block in Minneapolis. Freaking throws down the dunk, gets in Jimmy Butler's face. We win the game. Like, is there not a better game than that?
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I feel like what made it even better was just the fans' interactions with how the team was reacting, like to Jimmy Butler, like some Rachel Nichols chants were starting. And yes. I remember he was John in the front row with a couple of fans. It was just good to see that we got Jimmy a little riled up. I was happy to see that.
So Drew, I got a question for you. We got a big rivalry with the Grizzlies. Do you think that the rivalry with the Heat is a little bigger or even equal? Like I feel like I don't know.
I in my opinion, I think there's definitely rivalry between both teams, but in terms of who's bigger, I think right now, just after what happened last year, I think we got a bigger rivalry with the what's it called? The Grizzlies. I know that this stuff with Jimmy Butler, that happened like in 2018. So we're kind of moving on. I want to look forward to the Grizzlies. I want to get a rivalry with the Bastards. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to get a rivalry with a team. Like the Wolves haven't had a rival in so long, so I want to actually have one with the Grizzlies. And I just really want to see them play again. And we always have good games against Grizzlies. Well, in the regular season, I went to a couple. I actually went to one and we won that game. But yeah, every time a game with the Grizzlies, it's always a dogfight. And in the playoffs, I think we played better, but we just couldn't pull it out.
So who is your least favorite player on the Grizzlies? I think everyone has their least favorite player. Who is yours?
My goodness, I really don't like Jaren Jackson, honestly, in my opinion.
Interesting pick.
Because, you think Cat cries about calls all the time, but if you watch Jaren Jackson at all during his games, it's just constant hands up in the air, crying, pouting. I think the one thing I don't like about him is just his body language when he doesn't get a call. That it just like it's so obvious to see, and it just doesn't set a good example for your team. I just don't like watching that. And I also have a couple more. I could say the whole roster, but I would say I don't like Desmond Bane when he's hitting like 5, 6, 7 threes on our heads. That guy doesn't please me very much. No.
Yeah, I wish I could not like Desmond Bane, but I kind of just respect he's just kind of the quiet assassin. He just goes about his business, kills us on the court, doesn't even say anything. And I got a little comparison for you. So we were talking about how the Heat series, I think the Grizzlies are a better rival, but we can kind of compare it. I see the Packers jersey in your background. It's kind of like the Packers-Bears series. The Packers just smoke the Bears every year, so it's not even a series.
Yeah.
It's just such a good comparison there. And with the Grizzlies, at least, there's competitiveness and there's I know Jimmy Butler's on the Heat, but there are some legit villains on the Grizzlies. Ja Morant to Timberwolves fans is so unlikable. You got Dylan
Ja Morant's
Brooks.
dad, dude, the worst. Ja Morant's dad is the worst. I hate that guy.
I just don't like his tweeting at the end of the games and stuff. He tweets too much, and she just stopped talking.
The dancing on the court. Oh my! Just the antics, like the
antics.
The coach is the worst.
Oh my!
I hate that guy.
I hate him. I remember she got into when one game we got more calls than him, and then like the past 2 games we just got ripped apart by calls, and he was like crying about it in this post game. About how he wasn't getting calls. I just do not like that guy at all. No.
And you know what, Doobie? They got 15 more free throws the next game. It was one of the better tweets on the podcast account ever. So what's his name? Taylor Jenkins. I really don't like him.
Yeah.
He looks like a strength coach at a college. That's what I think. He does not look like an NBA coach.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I might have to go with Dillon Brooks though. Like Ja can at least back it up with the play, but Dillon Brooks' shot is just unbelievably broken, and it just doesn't go in most of the time. But he's still he locked down D'Lo, so I got to give him some credit there. I don't know. It's funny because talking about new additions. I mean, I always kind of like Slow-Mo. I never really hated him on the Grizzlies team.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness we got him for 2 years. I'm a big fan of the guy. So I don't know. What are your opinions on Slow-Mo?
I like him actually. I had no problems with him when he was playing for the Grizzlies at all. Obviously, Slow-Mo, his jumper's a little slow, but if he can make shots, I'm not complaining. But I think just him defensively, that'll be a good addition to our team, and just his size as well. I remember a couple of years back, we always used to be so little, but now we're just running with some size now, which is what I like to see because sometimes we used to get worked in the paint, out rebounded a lot by other teams. So it's good to see that we're getting more and more size.
Well, I know you. Every time I run into you out and about in the town, you love talking about Anthony Edwards. I think that it's kind of I talk about Anthony Edwards a little bit. What about Anthony Edwards makes you love him so much?
Okay. I mean, the list could go on and on. I just love his personality. I think it reminds me a lot of myself, and just some of the stuff he says is just so funny. It kind of brings the energy to the room, and whenever Ant's there, you can sense his energy and his excitement. He's funny. He's got a dog named Ant Jr., and I love dogs, and his dog is really cool, and he likes to post them a lot, so that's why I like him. Another thing I like about him is he likes to play all different types of sports, and he just has got insane drip. He's got the chains, he's got the glasses. I mean, he's just got insane drip. And I think if I ever were to meet Anthony Edwards in person, I would shed many, many tears, and I don't know what I'd say to him because he's just that important to me. He's just a great person. I just can't say anything bad about him. He's just unreal. I can't make it up.
I think it's cool because having a player that's exactly our age, being 21, I think it's cool to see how old we're getting, first of all, and just how relatable some of these players are, and you can kind of see what's going on in their life. How would you react to certain situations? This kid is just so beloved in Minnesota. He gets to play basketball in front of everyone. He's well liked. He's such a cool guy, such a cool story too. Seeing him come out of Georgia, a lot of stuff in his life, early, especially losing his mom, dad not being there, losing his grandma, his primary caretaker, still getting the number 1 overall draft pick. And I mean, again, this is another point. I mean, recently, obviously with stuff happening, I mean, it sucks because I feel like he's been so well liked. I mean, all of his tenure with the Timberwolves so far. And then, one of these, I think he makes one bad mistake and it sucks because I think he's struggling, and you can especially hear it in some of the press conferences with the questions. It's tough. He's struggling, dealing with making that mistake and not being well liked. But I think hopefully he knows that, especially in this day and age, one slip up and people try to crucify you. But I hope he knows he has a lot of people in his corner. A lot of people love him in Minneapolis. And I think we're all very lucky to have just a pro athlete like that to play for our team.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I know this is probably you guys are definitely agree with this, but being a Wolves fan, it's tough waking up. I know waking up in the mornings, and after a Wolves game, I'd want to see the game on SportsCenter. But no, they never play the sports. They would never play the T-Wolves game. They always play the Lakers game or some big market team. But now I feel like with Anthony Edwards, even at 21 years old, he's just brought so much attention to us, and we're actually getting recognized, I think, more and more just by having him on our team. That's something that I can appreciate because I haven't experienced like any sort of media attention by anybody in the past like 5, 6, 7 years. And I think last year we had how many national televised games did we have? Like
2?
I don't know if we had one.
4?
4?
I think 2 were NBA TV though, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, it was like you just didn't get any credit, and it's good to see that we're getting more nationally televised games because I think we're finally getting some recognition that we actually are a pretty good team here. We can actually make some noise, you know.
I don't think Anthony Edwards gets enough attention for like I know people are starting to finally see him, but like we kind of get numb to it because we see him every single game, but for people that see him the first time and actually watch him, like it's amazing. I just don't know how he's not getting like Luka Doncic type attention. Like I think that's the level he's maybe not at this year, but at the end of this year, maybe. I don't know.
I couldn't agree more with that too. Okay, go ahead, Chris. I was just gonna say.
I was just gonna say. I mean, there's like, especially with this team this year, there's just so many fun personalities on this team. I feel like obviously, you have the main 3 guys that are already here, but then you add a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's just, I feel like the media loves to shred him, so it'll be fun to see. Kind of, we're gonna get some more publicity there in that regard. I mean, Austin Rivers for a utility player gets a lot of coverage. I mean, Bryn Forbes won a championship. I think Jalen Noel is really going to show some people this year how good he is. And, I hope we can lock him down to a contract, but if not, I mean, I hope that guy goes and flourishes for some other team and gets a bunch of points. It's just, I don't think in the history of Timberwolves basketball, potentially, there's been a team that's been this young and this exciting all at the same time. I mean, you can argue the 04 team, but there's a lot of I think there's more talent on this team than there's ever been.
I definitely agree. I was just going to also add on, like, in terms of our young talent, I know we've been talking about all of the main guys like Rudy Gobert, D'Lo, Cat, and even some of our bench players in our key additions, but we haven't really touched on Jaden McDaniels that much. I would like to hear your guys' opinions on him because I think very highly of him, and I think he's one of the, if not the most underrated players in this league, and I feel like he needs to get some credit because he deserves it, and I think he's going to make a statement this year. But I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on it.
All right, I'll go first, Chris. Jaden McDaniels, bro. His defense. So I tell this story a lot. I've probably told it like 8 times on this podcast, but I was watching The Last Dance last year. I think it was right after the Timberwolves season, but I was watching Scottie Pippen in The Last Dance, and they were talking about his defense and like how he was locking up whoever he was locking up in the playoffs. And it is a spitting image of Jaden McDaniels on defense. Like, he literally is Scottie Pippen on defense. And it's like he's just so dynamic on defense. And then you add on that what did he drop? 50-something in the summer league in the Pro-Am this summer? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and just like you add that into the equation that he's finally getting his offense, and I know he hit some big threes in the Grizzlies, and yeah, he's quiet. You could say he's a silent killer, almost like D'Lo, but I love him, man. He doesn't show much emotion, but he's gonna be great.
Doobie, you're talking to the Jaden McDaniels fan club. I think this podcast can crown ourselves that. Honestly, the kid's game is so fun to watch, and especially in the playoffs, I feel like was kind of the coming out party of just seeing how well he was playing defense. And I don't exactly know which game it was, but there was a game where most guys were struggling, and he kept us in the game, hitting some huge threes before halftime. I think it was the playing game.
Yes,
he really had the 3-point shot going, and it goes to show if he can like have those games where he's hitting 3 out of 5, playing lockdown defense, and learning how to create some more offense for himself. He is a elite 5th option, I think, for any team. I will say, however, Jaden McDaniels interviews, I think I would stay away from for the most part. I tried to watch the media day Jaden McDaniels interview, and I'm like, man, I love the guy, but he doesn't add too much substance to the persona.
I'd love to get Doobie and Jaden McDaniels in the same room, and just that conversation would be something. It would be. I don't know.
I mean, I try my best to get something out of him, but I can usually get people talking. But even with Jaden McDaniels, I'm not sure if I can get him to spit much out of me. So we'll see though. If I get the chance, I'd like to see what happens.
I feel like he's like the coolest guy outside of basketball, though. I feel like he'd be super down to like chill and stuff. He seems like a good guy too.
So Doobie, this is the most random question I can ask you, but so say Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels came up to St. John's for a weekend, just to hang out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, wow.
What would the ideal weekend be?
All right, the ideal weekend. Well, obviously, they come stop at my house over here, and I give them a little house tour. By then, I'd have all their jerseys and like cards, posters in my room. I'd like to show them that, just to show that I am truly a fan. Then I'd obviously like to link up with you guys, and then I'd say, hey, let's go up to St. John's and get a couple runs in. So then we play some pickup with Jaden and was it Jaden and Ant? Yeah, it was Jaden and Ant. Yeah, play a couple runs with them. And then after that, we come back. I'd go over to somebody's house, introduce them to everybody, have a couple beers, then hit either our bars around here, the Law or Sal's, and just have a good time. And I'd obviously let one of them get the aux because I've listened to a lot of Ant's music on his Insta stories, and I'm a big fan. So I'm saying Ant definitely gets aux. And his dog's got to come up. Ant Jr.'s got to come up.
What if Ant started playing his own music? Have you heard his raps? What if he started? Yeah. Is that a red flag? Is that kind of where you're like, all right, man, hand me the?
I think he's dropped I know he's freestyled once on his story, but I think he's very good. So I would be a fan, and I think it'd be a very fun time if he starts playing his music. I'm like I said, I'm a big Anthony Edwards fan. I support everything he does, so I'd like to hear his music.
The thing about it is, man, these guys are 21 years old, and they got 1 year of college. I'm sure in high school they were highly touted recruits, so they didn't get to go out. They didn't get to drink much in high school. Obviously, they didn't want to get in trouble. College, they're just there for a business. They're not going out in college when they're freshmen. I'm sure they don't have fake IDs. So these guys, I mean, they haven't really got to experience the college life. So I think they would have more fun than you would have, or we would have fun.
We would have. They probably would. And I know Anthony Edwards just turned 21. I think it was August 6th. So we're looking good. I think Jaden McDaniels is 21. He might be 22. No, yeah, he is.
I think he's 21.
He's 21. Okay, yeah. See, so it'd be a good time. I don't see why not.
Yeah, Anthony Jaden, if you're listening, man, we just put it all on the table for you. Come up to St. Cloud, Minnesota. Meet at St. John's. We'll have a great time together. Doobie, I'm curious to ask. I think me and Peyton gave our record predictions for this upcoming season last week. Peyton was at 52, I believe.
What you got to add into the story is both of us, we gave our record predictions, and then we're both like, wait, the math does not add. Both of us had the wrong math, so get your
math is not adding up.
I don't know if I'd get – I got to – I'm just going to give you the win. Okay,
82 games in a season.
We'll give you a sec to calculate the math here, but I think Peyton had us at 52 wins. I had us at 55. The Vegas line is – the last time I checked it, 47.5. It went down.
Wow.
It went down from 48.5. Let
me see.
Or it might be different sports books. But I'm not a huge sports bettor, but this may be my first bet in a year, and it will be on the Minnesota Timberwolves over on 47.5 wins.
How much money are you putting on
I'd hammer that. Life savings.
Good 50? Is 50 fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
50's so fair. You guys I feel like you guys are sleeping a little bit. Just a little
55 wins is sleeping, Doobie? Oh, Lord, are we in the 60s?
No, we're not. We're sitting at 57 and 25. I think the Wolves are going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. And even the Western Conference, I know we got the Clippers coming back with Kawhi and PG and Jamal Murray coming back for the Nuggets. So there's going to be a lot of good teams. But like I said, I mean, our team, I just look around the league, and I know there's a lot of good teams, but we're one of the better teams out there. And I think this is our year to just kind of set the stones and just be like, we're a team that can really play some good basketball and get deep in the playoffs, and you should respect us. So I'm taking us at 57 and 25. You guys might not like that. I couldn't go 60. That's pretty aggressive, but I think 57 is right in our ballpark.
All right. A few more questions for you, Doobie, before we wrap this up. So you're very optimistic, and I think most Wolves fans are optimistic going into the season. What would be considered a success for you, and what would be considered a failure of a season?
Okay. Well, obviously, failure it would be just not even. Failure would be not making it past the first round.
Okay.
And that I also put that as one of our goals, not our main goal, because we got to get past that first round. I can't. When was the last time we actually went past the first round? Was it 2004 with KG? Wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So played the Rockets and Grizzlies. Yeah. Okay. I think. I mean, I would like to say a championship, but I mean that would just be such a crazy jump. But I would like to say see us at least second round of Western Conference Finals, in my opinion, and just see what happens. Like I don't know. I just have so much confidence in this team. I think I don't know. I just have a good feeling. I just like we've been talking with all of our players, our depth, and our coach. And I even like just Chris Finch is such a good coach, and I just think this is going to be a good year, a big jump for us. And I think a lot of people aren't expecting that big of a jump, but I'm feeling like it's going to be there. So I'm saying at least second round or Western Conference Final, or else it's a bust.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to put it in numbers or what we're gonna do, but I really do think like a legit ceiling for this team is there is no ceiling. Like I think this team, if everything did go right, I'm not saying they are gonna do it. I mean, but I think the ceiling on this team is a championship. Like I think there is a % chance that could happen, whether that's in the first year or whether that's in the fourth year of this experiment. When everyone's getting off those contracts, there's a lot of excitement. Finally, basketball's back in Minnesota. People are excited. The people want to see good basketball. So I'm gonna leave you off with this, Doobie. Who is going to be the Timberwolves MVP this season, and who do you got for the league MVP and the league champions?
Wow, loaded.
Wow. I know you guys are going to like to hear this, but I'm going to take Anthony Edwards as our what's it called?
Team MVP.
As our team MVP.
I'd love to
yes.
hear that.
Yeah.
I love that. What are you talking about?
Or, I mean, also, I'd like to see Cat take it because he's just – I don't like the criticism Cat gets because he's such a great player, but I'd like to see Ant take it. And for the league MVP, man, you know who I'm going to take? I don't know. I'm going to take Luka. I'm taking Luka, league MVP.
Good pick.
I just think I watched a lot of his basketball, especially in the playoffs, and he's something special. He just got to get his defense going a little bit, and then he'll be set to go. Or you can always take Giannis. I mean, he's always up there every year, but yeah, always. How about you guys?
Chris,
I want to hear
first.
Team MVP this year. It's a really weird pick. It's not going to show up in the statistics. But we are going to go as far as Rudy Gobert takes us on the defensive end, I feel like. And my reasoning for that is you see what this team can do offensively. You see this team can get out to 20-point leads on the Memphis Grizzlies, and they can also blow them. But you add this anchor at the 5 and that veteran leadership and that playoff experience, this guy's going to make sure those 20-point leads, 10-point leads don't vanish. And I think no matter how far we go, it's going to be mainly because of that addition of Rudy Gobert. And league MVP. This is a tough one. It almost feels like a cop out. So I'm going to go with someone new. I'll go with. I was going to say Giannis just because he is the best player in the world in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But let's see Joel MVP get that first MVP.
Yeah, there we go.
I think he's so talented. I think he's deserved to be in the conversation years past. Maybe he does it this year. I don't know.
I don't hate those.
I definitely see him too.
I think I agree with Doobie on team MVP, Anthony Edwards, and I would say the same thing Chris said about Rudy Gobert. I think we only go as far as Anthony Edwards takes us. You see him take over a few games in the playoffs last year. You saw him. What was the game we won? Did we win game 1? When he just went off?
Yes.
He went off in Memphis, yeah.
Like, if he can do that on a consistent basis, that's how far we're going to go, as much as he can do that. League MVP, everyone's going to hate this, but Kawhi Leonard. Favorite player in the league. I love him. Did you guys see his video he posted on Media Day where he took the Nike sign off of his jersey?
Yeah, I saw that.
I did see that.
That's too
He's
funny.
such a clown. But I don't know. I love the way he plays the game. I think that he's so boring, but he literally
He's good. Really
he's
good.
insane.
Yeah.
So Drew, before you leave, I know Chris that was the last question, but I want to hear your D'Angelo Russell story. You told it to me at the bar a couple nights ago, but I think Timberwolves Nation needs to hear this.
Yeah, they have to, because if any one of you guys gets in this situation, just enjoy, because it happens fast. We're playing golf with a couple buddies, and I happen to be playing with the guy that brings me to the playoff games for the Wolves. His name's Thomas. Great guy. We're both massive Wolves fans. Anyways, we're playing hole 7 at Baker National. I don't know if you guys have ever golfed there, but the par 3 or par 4 goes on the right side, and there's another par 3 one hole up ahead on the left. And my brother hit a shank on the left. And then I go over this hill where the green is, and I see these golfers playing golf. And this one guy yells at me, "Your buddy had a nice punch out. His ball's over there." And then I was like, "Oh, thanks, Matt." And then before I could even speak, I just realized I was D'Angelo Russell. Then I started shaking, and then I asked him, "Are you D'Lo?" And then we had a nice conversation about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and we just talked about like how his day was, like golf, how's your round going, do you play a lot, like just miscellaneous stuff. Like just two golfers just on the course having a conversation. Meanwhile, I was just shaking my boots, but really cool guy. And then we walked out. It was over. It was awesome.
Wow.
It was a great story. And then me and Menzie, my buddy, were just absolutely shaking. And I also got a chance to see his golf swing, and wow. Was it
better than his jump shot?
His jump shot's pretty impressive. His golf swing might be better. I'm not sure. They're pretty close. They're pretty similar. Very smooth, I have to say.
Well, Drew, thanks for coming on, man. You were a pleasure to have on, and even up at school up here, a lot of people are starting to talk about the Wolves, but it's always great to run into you and talk about the Wolves, man. So thank you for coming on. Appreciate you.
Always do. Appreciate you guys having me on here. I had a good time talking Wolves.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it a lot, and we are definitely going to be getting you back on during the season. I'm sure there's going to be some loss to the Thunder, and I think we need some Doobie,
some energy to light up the spark again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had a great time today, and I love talking Wolves. So yeah, if you guys are having any sort of another podcast or new episode, and we want to, especially during the season, because I'd love to talk about the games too. I'd love to be back on. You guys were fun to talk to, but do appreciate you guys having me on here.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
Yep.